So last time we saw an insight into where does evil come from in the human condition. And tonight we're going to take a deep dive all the way down into the pits of hell, I might say, into Gehenna and see where the fires of hell come from. It's
Mm.
really fascinating stuff. It's actually a note by the author, Rabbi Volozhin, to his own, right? This is the Maimer HaTzelm, which itself is a gloss on the Nefesh HaHaim. So this is a gloss on a gloss. Unfortunately, it's not showing up on my screen. Okay, I hope this will be it.
Thought it was just on my screen.
No, I can't see it yet either. But I'm going to begin with something I have in a footnote from Rabbi Avinoam Frankel from the Nefesh HaTzimtzum, which is again talking about how did evil sneak into our body? Why do we have like so much Yetzer Hara, and where did that come from? So we spoke a little bit about it last week, and he said, as it says in the Shari Kedusha. So let me see. As it says in the HaHaim. So let us speak about the elements of each of these worlds and explain what they are. Know that the three elements, the root, the souls, and the bodies, are one entity without separation between them. However, the garments and the chambers, the malbushim and the heichalos, are two elements which are separated from these three elements as mentioned. Between the two of these, i.e., between the bodies and the garments, that is where the klipot, i.e., the sitra achra, reside. And they are literally attached to the external skin of the body. So we're speaking here sort of metaphysics, right? This isn't biology. This is, metaphysical stuff, but he's talking about how it applies like to the human body, which for us is really the human condition. So the skin, which is, you say about somebody, they're skin deep, right? They're not a very deep person. They're very much about skin. So the skin is where like the klipos, the sitra achra are attached to that. The reason for this is that the three internal elements contain inner light, and the part of the inner light of the lowest intensity extends into and stops within the skin. You know that our skin is our largest organ. The skin is really very much a living part of our body and covers the whole body and is doing all this stuff, protecting us from ultraviolet rays and keeping us from dripping out and doing a lot of important things. So the skin is a really big deal, but it's also, it's where the rubber hits the road. It's where the outside world touches our person at our skin. And we judge people by their skin. What do I know about you? I don't look too much inside your mouth. So I mostly know your skin. We see each other on the level of skin. And so skin is very chitzoni, it's very external, and it's about, if we talk about appearance versus reality, it's very much about appearances and not realities. You could do a facelift, you could go to a tanning booth, you could do a lot of stuff to change the look of your skin, and you're changing yourself in a very superficial way. So the skin is a superficial but important part of us, and the sitra achra is connected to the skin. So this is the opposite with the circumventing light. As the more external the light, the greater it is, as is well known. So, again, there's inner light and outer light. It therefore transpires that the circumventing light, the or makif, within the innermost garment attached to the body, is the lowest intensity circumventing light. Therefore, the klipos reside between them. This is where, between our inner self and our outer self, there's a little bit of a gap. And that gap is where, like the sitra achra, the dark side, is able to manifest itself, i.e., between the body, the inner essence, and the garments, the circumventing lights, in the place where there's neither inner nor circumventing light, no or pnimi, and no or makif. So that's between the inner essence and that which circumvents, and that's where the bad stuff begins to sort of, I hate to say take control, but at least to put its stamp and make itself a very important player in how we behave, our urges and our Yetzer Hara, the Sitracha. That is a part of our lives. So that is all from a note on what we learned last week. And I am having a little bit of technical difficulty here, getting it on the screen. I'll try a different way. And then I'll just do it from the book without having it on the screen. Okay. So let me begin and see if it comes in. So I'm in the text now, again, of the Maimer HaTzelm, and he says the following. Kishiratza Kadosh Baruch Hu lezakos es Yisrael. Lefichach hir balhem Torah mitzvahs. Now we're all familiar with that because we say it in shul, especially the Sfardim say it, and it's a Gemara Makos. Kadosh Baruch Hu ratza lezakos Yisrael lefichach hir balhem Torah mitzvahs shneimar Adonai chafetz l'man tzidko yagdil Torah v'yadir yitgadal v'yitgadash. Right? That's how they start their Kaddish all the time, a Kaddish to Rabbanan, by saying that Maimer Chazal. Okay, I did get something here, great. So we're familiar with the Maimer Chazal, and there's a beautiful Rambam about that Maimer Chazal, that God made lots of mitzvahs, okay? We don't have, 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach. We have Taryag mitzvahs. It's so many different mitzvahs, that everybody can find something for themselves, a mitzvah that they love and that captures who they are. So, yeah, here we are. Kishiratza Kadosh Baruch Hu lezakos es Yisrael lefichach hirba lehem Torah mitzvahs she'al yedeyem yuchlu le'achpaya lesitra achra. By embracing a mitzvah, by having so many opportunities to do mitzvahs, tefillin and tzitzis and birkas hamazon and shiluach hakan and kibud aveim, and there's Baruch Hashem, so many opportunities for mitzvahs. We can use the mitzvahs to overcome and sort of stamp out the evil inclination, our Yetzer Hara. L'oirer hashrashin iloyin hanimshachim mishem havaya baruch hu. Okay, the mitzvahs by their effect will be able to subdue the Yetzer Hara and arouse the shrashim, the supernal roots that are drawn from the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, which expresses itself through us. L'zakech kol gufo, and that's going to purify our whole body. Shu kol klei moichoi mimuloyim b'machsheves Torah. So instead of having that gap where the Yetzer Hara, the Sitra Achra, can dance, where the Satan may dance, we're going to fill our body and soul and our mind with clean thoughts and beautiful love for other people, and your moyach will be filled with machshavas Torah. V'kol levavo yege yoimam v'layla b'divrei Torah, u'v'kol gufo yasoik b'mitzvahs masiyos she'ashoyrish kol hashrashin iloyin shekadma lebrias ha'olam. A person is able to take his persona and link it to the divine will through which the world was created. You'll be involved with mitzvahs and Torah and doing good deeds for other people, for Torah is the root of all supernal roots that predated the creation of the world. And so a person is able to mamish bind himself. You're clinging to God because God had a will to give and create the world. And when we make a decision to embrace Torah and mitzvahs, we're connecting ourselves up to that positive energy through which the world was created. And it leaves no room for the Yetzer Hara. So it's a beautiful power that we have to sanctify our lives, to purify our bodies, and to really connect with God through Torah and mitzvahs. So it's really, really a wonderful opportunity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. Okay, so we are now at a lengthy gloss, as I said, that Rabbi Yitzchak himself wrote on his own work, and it's fascinating. It's going to take us to really deep places. Hagav b'zeh mevuar b'zohar dina dechayavaya begihinom hu ulifna deihu lemeidin tamen chayavi alma. This is, as explained in the Zohar, we learn that the judgment of Gehinnom, okay, people, there's a Mishnah that says Mishpat Rishoyim Begehinim Yud Beis Chodesh, that people after their ptira are in Gehinnom for a period of time, a limited period of time of 12 months. And in fact, that has to do with our custom that we only say Kaddish for 11 months, not to treat a parent, oh, they're a Russia, they're in Gehinnom for 12 months. So I don't worry about that. I say, no, I'm sure they're out of Gehinnom by now. After 11 months, we stop saying Kaddish. So what are those fires of hell? What is going on in Gehinnom? How does it work to purify those people that need Gehinnom? So the Zohar is telling us about it, that Gehinnom, what is it? Ihu nur dalik, yamama velilya. It's a eternal fire burning day and night. Kigavna, dechayavaya, mischamimim b'yetzahara. And this is the key to understanding it. It's that fire of desire, of passion, of lust, which could be lust for money, lust for drugs, the simple lust, all those things that get people excited, okay? That, gets people hormonal and really, wow, I want it, okay? That's a fire. That's an intensity, a passion that arouses us. That arousal is the fires of hell, okay? It can be channeled. It can be channeled in a positive way in this world. You arouse this to do something, you could channel that in a good way. But fundamentally, the fires of hell, which burn day and night, are the way that the wicked, at least, are arousing themselves with the fires of desire. Let's see it in English here. Gehinnom is a flame that burns day and night, just as the guilty, the wicked, warm themselves, arouse themselves with the evil inclination. Gehinnom burns in the same way, as it is written, "Dichsiv esh hi ad avdon tochal keme esh yatsu ve'esh tochlam." Let's see if we can get this pasuk in Eov 31. How did I say it here? For from the fire they were produced, and the fire will consume them. There's a beautiful, symmetry in that sentence. That ki eshi ad avadon tochel ubechol tevuasi tisharesh. Okay, it's a little different. It's based on this pasuk. Ki eshi. You can see his words. Tichsiv eshi ad avadon tochel. And then I guess these are his own words. Ki mea esh yatsu ve'esh tochalem. They were produced by fire, and the fire will consume them. So I like the word lust. I think that captures it. That feeling of I'm on fire. I need it. I want it. Okay, and again, it could be power and wealth, whatever drives a person, and he gets like uncontrollable passion and drive to get what he wants in a really bad way. So that is the fire of hell. Okay, that is this burning sensation. I want it. I need it. I must get it. I will do anything to get it. That kind of drive, that sort of evil drive and uncontrolled drive, is what a person is going to be suffering. The outcome of that, the flip side of that, the mirror image of that, that is exactly the fire that's burning in Gehinnom, which is then going to be used to purify him. Okay, you have to fight fire with fire. Okay, so you're using this fire of desire, of evil desire, let's call it, and it's going to sort of burn itself out in Gehinnom until it's, I guess, no longer attractive. I've burned through it. And so after it's burned itself out and been consumed, so then you're left with a good neshama, with the good soul, the good person who's in there, who's not driven and on fire to achieve their evil goals, okay? Because, again, we're talking about Rishoyim. And although all of us maybe have some Resha, have some evil within and have opportunities and confusions and we stray, but, we hope we're not going to be in Gehinnom for 12 months. We hope that it's going to be a very short-lived fire, or that because of our devotion to Torah and mitzvahs and building from families, we may get a get out of jail free card. We won't have to go to Gehinnom or something like that. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. That's not my point here. I'm trying to understand. and appreciate. I must admit, I feel there's a beauty in this. I feel there's something really meaningful and really midas hadin, that it's really fair and important, that there's so much evil in the world, right? There's so many, the powers that be, the powers of Iran and the powers that run so much of government and organized crime. And there's just a real lot of wickedness. And that wickedness has to come to, it has to be mitukan, it has to be rectified. Where can we do that? And our answer is the fires of hell. And what are the fires of hell? A nuclear power plant? What can you do? And the answer is you can take that fire that's burning within these souls that have allowed themselves to stray from God instead of clinging to the source of eternal life. They are indulging in their own burning fires and setting these destructive fires throughout the world of hurting other people and their selfishness and their boundless drive for whatever they're driving for, control and abuse and so forth. And they're going to burn that fire out in Gehenna. Okay, there's this river of
Rabbi,
fire.
Rabbi Yeshua,
Yeah.
is this true for Yidden and for Goyim?
I sort of think so. It's definitely, I think the Mishnah, I'm quoting a Mishnah in Edios that says, Mishpat Rishonim Begehinnim is Yud Beis Chodesh. And as I said, that's in Shulchan Aruch, that's why we say Kaddish for only 11 months, not to be Machzik Aviv Kirasha. So it's for sure true of Jews. And so you might say a person who's not a Ben Olam Haba doesn't need Gehenna. He's just going to be sort of destroyed in his wickedness and will cease to exist entirely for Goyim who are Lav B'nei Olam Haba. So that's possible. I entertain that. My basic answer is I don't know. Okay, I don't know the distinction, but I think that is a possibility. But then where will the wicked Goyim, where will they be punished? When will they suffer the just deserts of their evil that they lived in this world? So I don't know the answer. Okay. Okay. So again, we're looking at fire, consuming fire, and now he's bringing it into the body. Okay. So again, this is the power and the beauty of Ritzula's thought here. Ki ikar mishkan hayetzahara. Where is the yetzahara in our body? Ubelev. Okay. It's in the left ventricle. Okay, science has different chambers of the heart. So in the Sefer Tanya, for example, he very much differentiates between the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart. And for us, it's like where the oxygenated blood is and the unoxygenated blood, the blue blood and the red blood and so forth. And in the Kabbalah, there's like this, this similar description of the sides or the chambers of the heart. And there's a chamber of the heart, and it's associated here with fire. Okay, I mean, the blood is a liquid, but it's like hot, it's pumping. And the Mishkan Yetzahara hu belev, beliba esha, and the heart is associated with fire. The kasher boer belev ha'adam ish zara. And when in a person's heart, he writes here, heart/mind, which is good, because it is the mind as well as the heart. And we've talked about the heart as the seat of emotions. And even though modern science has basically everything happening in the brain, and early, the Torah does not have the word brain in it. I've mentioned that all the ancient Middle Eastern languages, none of them have a word for brain. So ancient man didn't really know about the brain, but moach, brain, is a big deal in the Kabbalah. We've talked about moach lev kaved. So the mind and the brain are important, but we've mentioned that when you get excited, your heartbeat increases, your pulse picks up. So your heart really expresses your feelings, your intensity. So we're talking about the heart/mind, that your heart is a burning fire. Kasher boer belev adam, eish zara, a strange fire, okay, a foreign fire. Asher lo tziva Hashem, something that's not a good passion. It's something inappropriate. Begaiva, begavus halev to'eva Hashem. For example, arrogance. Okay, I'm so great. Okay, people are full of themselves. And that gaiva in their heart, their haughty heart, is an abomination to God. God cannot dwell in that heart that is full of a person's self-aggrandizement. Azai me'esh ha'gaiva, hu tzameh lechol minei taiva, Rachmana litzlan. And so one thing leads to another. This fire of gaiva, of his pride, leads him to all different lusts, okay? Because in his own sort of justification, because I'm so great, I'm deserving of anything I want, I should get, and there's no boundaries. Nothing should be withheld from me. So I can have my wife and I can have your wife and I can, I can have everything that I want because of I'm narcissistic, right? I'm the only thing that really exists. Like those who are thirsty, so they go to water. What is the water here? Kein mamsilo l'ravois tzimon hatayves yesod hamayim shebemoach. So the author now connects the element of water. We started with fire, okay, the fire of arrogance burning in the heart, and now it's affecting the water, and the water is associated with desire, passion, lust. And he's relating it to the moach, okay, up in the brain. So maybe these are like hormonal signals, whatever, through the body. And so the fire has aroused a thirst. And this thirst, the thirst for taivas, yesod hamayim shebemoach lahamtzilo machshavot, ek lohoitzi taivas libo mikoyach halapoyel. So he's indulging in fantasies, how to achieve great pleasure for himself through his evil thoughts, okay, in the mind. Ki shekasu v'nishayahu, ki hasheket lo yuchal v'yigarshu meimav refesh fatit. How does he translate that? There's no peace for the wicked, whose waters disgorge mire and mud. Behena mayim metunafim v'sruchim shemorid lo mimoicha machshavoisa v'hirhurav haroyim. This refers to the foul, stinking waters that he brings down from his brain, his evil thoughts and reflections. People can get, they spend their life scheming and planning and fantasizing in just a mess of a cesspool of desire, okay? And now it's gone from the fire to the water, and now it's going to the ruach, okay? The spirit, the wind. Mikanfe rea, the nashvin aliba, lohoitzi dvarim, lashon hara, rechilus, leitzanis, v'kadoime. So now it gets translated into words. It was a burning desire. It came into like fantasies and scheming, and now it's in words. It's in lashon hara, hurting other people. It's in leitzanis, belittling the Torah and the rabbis, and all sorts of bad speech. So that's the element of ruach, of the third of the four yesodos, that's now been essentially contaminated. Let's see. And he mentioned the lungs, yeah? They arouse for him the element of wind from the two wings of the lungs that sit over the heart. So there's not much this bad biology going on, that it started with a desire in the heart, it went up to the mind, and the mind then sent messages down through the body of like a bad arousal and scheming for lust and power and bad things. And now that's moved to the lungs, and he's talking about it and making his plans. And now here comes the body, the afar. The yesod ha'afar is the kli, the mana la'afaka chelehon the gimel yesodin. We've talked throughout this Maimer HaTzelm that there's three active yesodos, the fire, the ruach, and the mayim. And the one that's the recipient of all the energy is the afar. It's the earth itself, which is like the physical aspect of the body. So in this case, his passion, his evil speech, he's now going to do his stuff, his averas, with his body. Niglu pu'ulois machane aram. This is Aleph Reish Mem, this is the Avir and the Mayim and the Ruach, the Eish Ruach and Mayim. Velasher ein adam meis v'chetzi tavaso b'yado lezois misatzev elibo keteve ha'afar. But nobody can ever satisfy all their desires because our desires are infinite. And so Chazal have that expression that nobody leaves this world with more than half of their desires fulfilled, because your desires are infinite. Being that no one dies with even half of his desires fulfilled, for that reason, this has to do with addiction also, that I always want more, and all the highs that I get from indulging my fantasies, but I always want more. And so the nature of this, it leads to depression. Okay. You mentioned atzvus, that it's the nature of the afar, okay, of the lowly dirt, which is really inert and doesn't have its own energy, is to be like sad and depressed. So although he started with the fire and he was inspired to get what he wants, and he's involving the mayim and the ruach, the eish is this bad energy, he ultimately expresses it with his body, and he ends up like, it wasn't worth it. And now I need more, and I'm feeling down after I did all this bad stuff. And so it ends up with the downer, okay, with depression. However, if we can strengthen the roots of Kedusha, Hine Yisoid Ha'esh Shebelibo, Magbia Libo B'darkei Hashem. So that was a very, dark and scary portrait of the forces of evil within our body and how they can take over and lead a person to a life of awful stuff, profligacy, and then ultimately depression. But a person, on the contrary, could spend his life clinging to God and doing Torah and mitzvahs. And the fire in his heart is bringing him closer to the ways of God. Fire in his heart raises up his heart mind in the ways of God to cause his root to cling. Lizdabek b'shorsho. Ubo'er b'rishvei eish shel heves ka. V'tzami l'toira v'avoida. Kinyan shenemar tzama lecha nafshi. I don't mean to embarrass you, Rav Daniel, but I want to tell something. I remember it was from one of your son's bar mitzvahs, and the rabbi said it, and it was that that there's this Avos and Banim program of parent-child learning, and it's a big thing in Harnof, and it was usually held Motzei Shabbos. And Reb Daniel had this idea to get people to come Friday night, Leil Shabbos, to come to shul learning, and I saw it many times. Hundreds of kids and their parents came Friday night to shul to learn Torah together for 40 minutes, and then get a schnapps, and the kids would get a can of Coke and some, Bisley or Bamba, whatever they got. But it was a program which Reb Daniel created out of his own mind. And he got it funded from people all over the world. I know he had a friend in London was paying for it. It was a whole big thing, hundreds of people learning Torah. And it came from this fire. This comes from Yesod HaEish. And this Yesod HaEish drove him to create a new program of fire, of Eish HaTorah. Hundreds of Jews getting together to learn Torah Friday night in Yerushalayim. It's an unimaginable power of Kedusha. Shal heves Eish, Samei l'Torah ve'avoida. Ke'inyan shenemar tzama lecha nafshi. V'ksiv havei kol tzamei lechu l'mayim. U'mis'or Yesod HaMayim shebemoicho. And now it's spreading in a good way, and spreading Kedusha through the body from the fire to the water. Umatzmiach lo sechel toiv b'toira ve'avoida. And so now these good thoughts have impact not only in this particular thing that he's doing, but it spreads. There's collateral benefit in his Torah and avoida. Lisaneg al Hashem b'mitzvaysav. It gives you a pleasure in doing mitzvahs. You're enjoying the mitzvahs, which is not obvious, because you could do mitzvahs and not enjoy them. But by grasping and arousing oneself to be mechadish in mitzvahs and Torah, so that sets off this good energy in the body, and one begins to love mitzvahs and find spiritual pleasure in them. Mevuar in Zohar, Kol Hashem alamayim misitra demaya, di'iu moicha detamen solik bekan fereya, Kol Hashem choitzev lavois eish, misitra de liba umischaber imoim yesoid ruach shebekan fereya. His lungs are involved. The nashiv aliba sheshoeves kol minei mashkin shebemoicha. So again, the oxygen is coming into the blood and the heart, and it's getting good influx from the brain. V'zeu kala de kalil me'esha ruach umayim. And so this is the voice of God that we heard at Mount Sinai, which is a mixture of fire, wind, and water, because our voice, we produce our voice. It takes energy to speak. And there's our saliva playing a role to lubricate our vocal cords. When you get really dry, you have to have a drink of water to, give some liquid there. So there's ruach, there's the air vibrating the vocal cords, and there's the energy. And so there's eish, ruach, and mayim in this kol. And lekayim ve'agisa bo yoimam v'layla. And this is a fulfillment of what it says of contemplating the Torah day and night, v'yisoid ha'afar. And so what is the role of the afar in this case? Hu mana le'afaka cheleon d'shroshin kadishin. And now, in the first case, right, the fire was this vessel. It was a despised and disgusting vessel, which ended up broken and miserable. But in this case, that the person has used the fire to grasp onto God and to leap up into, the holiness of the Shemayim, and the Ruach and the Mayim are participating. So now the body, the kli made of afar from the dirt, is it's now the vessel to channel all this great energy. B'dibor b'maisa v'nikar bo. Let's see what happened here. Why is there atzlus in it? The element of dust is a vessel that expresses the powers of the three holy elements in speech and action. Within it can be observed scoffing and lethargy, not to transgress chas v'shalom Hashem's will, even regarding a minor prohibition, depression over his iniquities. Okay, I think, let's see. V'nikarbo atzlus v'kvedus shelo lavor chas v'shalom al ratzon Hashem yizbarach shmo af be'isur kal ve'atzvut al vonotav. I see. Rabbi Tzala is explaining where do we find the typical weightiness, the lowliness of the afar. So the atzlus, the laziness, the heaviness, the lethargy, they called it, the lethargy. He uses those not to do Aveiras, meaning I'm too lazy to do an Aveira. I'm too connected to God through my fire and my ruach and my water that I'm not going to do an Aveira. I'm not going to allow my body to do an Aveira. Even in a Isser Kal, even Isser Drabanan, even something small. And if I have done any Aveiras, I'm going to use the tendency of the body to get depressed, to be sad. I'm going to use the atzvus, the sadness, for regretting my Aveiras, for mourning my sins. Okay? So all of the vessels and all the different elements of my body, the fire, the wind, the water, and the afar, are each playing a role. We saw earlier they could play this really negative role and arouse the fires of hell within ourselves. But now we've seen that one can light the Eish HaTorah, the fire of Torah, and how it cleanses and connects them to Hashem. And each one of the Daled Yesodim, these four elements, has its own characteristics of the role that it plays in our Avodas Hashem.
I think one of the big challenges
Yes.
is, I mean, the average person, I mean, he's not the average person, but you may have these swings of passion for mitzvot or upward swings of feeling, ruach at certain times. But I think the big challenge in life is, the keeping motivated and first of all, not burning out, because if you're at white heat all the time, you burn out. If you're pilot light, you'll last a long time. But everybody thinks you're a flatliner. You just don't get excited over anything. So I guess, the challenge is trying to keep it at a certain level, and feel that
Right.
spirit when you're doing laundry and you get stuck in traffic.
Steve, did you want to add anything?
Oh, gee. Um, I guess I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Yeah. Uh, wow. I keep thinking of Jim Morrison, who "Come On, Baby, Light My Fire," and he winds up choking to death on his own vomit, taking a bath in Paris. You
I don't know.
know,
They haven't. I thought they never found the body. There's a
that's
whole
not
cult that
true.
says he's still alive somewhere.
Come on. I think he's a tourist attraction, actually. And then I was also thinking of, the opposite of this. I'm to give you a funny series of things. I keep thinking of who's the guy? The shrieking comedian who was Sam Kinison. You remember him?
Yeah, he's always screaming.
Yeah, he's dead now. But anyway, he used to scream, "You can't scare me with hell. I've already been married." You know, that came to mind. And who's looking forward to being okay? And I keep thinking of pictures of Dante's Inferno,
Yes,
and we laugh that stuff off. And what's different about this? I mean, other than there's more sadistic delight attached to the people stoking the fires in hell, but this seems more pleasant. So our souls will be built for the long run. We have to go in for
eye cleaning.
into the
Yeah.
tanning booth for X number of days, and then
Mm,
we're out.
right.
So, sort of what
The
Steve
and also the
saying.
HaHaim was talking about
Sorry.
this too with the plague of the firstborn.
Okay.
I was just reading it a few hours ago,
Hmm.
and he talked about, and he's pretty Zohar-ish at times,
Right.
to say the least. And he also uses that expression as it is well known, like when
Right.
these are things that nobody ever told you in your wildest dreams, and you wouldn't know what they were talking about. And it's always described as it's well known.
Yeah, right. They use that
What
expression.
is that? You did that once or twice here,
Yes, they
meaning
use
this
that.
this
If it's
section.
written in the Zohar, they assume you know it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
of course.
there.
And anyway, it's talking about what kind of death the firstborn we're going to have. Is it going to be their body, or the soul's going to get it too? And apparently, it's just going to be their bodies, as near as I could figure out, because it wasn't that clear to me. But God had it. He started talking about the phrasing of, at about midnight, all the firstborn will die. He's not saying I'm killing them. And so he
Mm.
started analyzing why the land, why didn't he say that as opposed to I'm gonna kill all the firstborn. And anyway, he gets into the whole body and soul connection and the death, and he wanted to be very precise about it. And I guess they are too.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the gospel here? Or if this is the way the Kabbalah looks at it, because somebody's borrowing from somebody else,
That
I
that's
don't,
how I. That's what my first thoughts when you started to go into this
yeah,
was that when the rabbi started going into it in the text, it sounded very notzrut, and yes, they took a lot of things from us, but I remember as a kid, maybe even just a younger adult, we always were sort of not denigrating, but like this is their concept, this
yeah,
fiery hell. We're not into that.
yeah,
We're just into a different kind of it, but it sounds like
yeah,
we still have it.
yeah. Feel the heat.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
But this was a spiritual fire that we are talking about, and
right.
a person burning in his own
Yeah,
passions. So that makes sense, where as opposed to a physical, throwing people in fire and so forth. So
Well, look,
yeah.
um,
And
the
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 whole
inner
skin,
the
the
inner
whole thing.
fire makes
Sorry, go
people
ahead.
jump off buildings, and
That's
do all
right.
sorts of damage to themselves because it tears them apart inside. So it's not to be trifled
Yeah.
with.
Exactly.
And it's, of course, we distinguish ourselves from the Eastern religions by saying, because they talk a lot about, desire is the downfall of everything, and we
Mm,
need to transcend that. And
mhm.
here we do that by balancing things and not letting, inject a little mastery into the whole thing and look for, you know, okay. Anyway.
I don't know, Steve. According to that, Eastern, if desire is the evil, the root of all evil, you look at India and you look at China, the East has the greatest population. so,
Well, you look
so
at America, and I think this is what we're talking about here. I think the American society makes you vulnerable to all the stuff we're trying not to be vulnerable to. Like at Christmas time, they asked the economist, how's the Christmas shopping going this year? And that's their barometer on the economy. So, and which is the economy in America is on the back of the consumer, and
Right.
it's not really pleasant these days. And people wind up getting caught up in all sorts of things to keep up. They don't realize that their income is decided on Rosh Hashanah. Most Jews don't really believe that at some level. Is it? Yeah, thanks. Like I live on planet Earth, you know. So you see all these threads. Certainly you see it in addiction. You see it in, I have a bunch of grandchildren who are becoming workaholics in America. They
Mm,
don't even they don't even know what's driving that. You
mm.
know, people are people are fighting over crumbs where they used to have steaks laying out for them. And so now they have to be even more competitive, and it's literally insane. Um, so I don't know. And I was brought up with that, so I had to unlearn all of that. So that was a lot of fun.
The challenge is great. Thank you,
Challenge is
everybody.
great. He,
Yes.
he who masters himself has everything. You know, and the other thing I was thinking, by the way, is the blustering of these people are just very loud and arrogant, and you can always those are the ones you have to watch out for. And basically, just think of the Muslims these days, or the Ayatollahs. So in our Tehillim, we talk about the blustering, you know, evil people. They bluster like crazy.
True.
So I don't, anyway, apparently once people get to the next world, they want to stay there. So it's not as appealing as desires weren't as appealing as they appear on Earth.
Yeah, for sure. It's illusory. A
So
lot of the.
anyway, not to go on and on, but
Well, thank you very much for your input. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll
thank
go
you.
back to next week's
Eshkach,
episode.
Eshkach.
Good
Have a
night.
good
Thank
night.
you.
Have a good
All
night.
too. Bye bye.